How do we begin to feel more alive? I'm Dr. Corey Propst, the Ground Zero health psychologist committed to helping you live your more powerful life. And I'm the creator of the Mental Edge Academy. So in this fifth video of your 5-video series on why self-awareness, here's the deal. This is what I'm going to explain today. We can't know ourselves by merely just thinking about ourselves, sitting and thinking. I mean, we'll get somewhere doing that, but there's got to be more. It has to go deeper than that, okay? Why? Well, for a variety of reasons. You know, as humans, we are subject to a number of biases, including things like the recency effect, which has us recalling what happened most recently, whether it's positive or negative. We have that foremost in our minds, okay? And then another one is confirmation bias. All of you have probably heard of this. It's talked about all the time in the media, but you know, we look for situations, we look for evidence that confirms the beliefs we already hold about ourselves, about other people, about the world. It doesn't matter. But so the point is this: it's really tough to unearth the unconscious, you know, especially when we are, you know, we evolved to be pretty hell-bent through no fault of our own, guys, to maintain a certain view of ourselves. That's our identity, right? You know, the ego is very sticky and it wants to protect us, to maintain the identity that we hold for ourselves so that we feel safe, so that we feel protected, okay? The ego you could look at as the me-centered part of yourself. Its focus is on me being comfortable, okay? Maintaining what I know about myself, maintaining what I believe about myself. It doesn't care if those beliefs are actually true. It's what we know and what we believe currently, now. And those beliefs come from our past, okay? When we're really young and we absorbed messages from our caregivers, from people around us, in terms of the way that they acted or didn't act. You know, our identities were crafted in light of those environments, okay? So, like I said, the ego is the me-centered part of us, the identity that we've crafted and was crafted for us. And oftentimes we don't necessarily question it, but when we start to feel like things are kind of dysfunctional, we know that it's time to start questioning, all right? When we're feeling just resistance all the time, that's the ego really trying to hold things together to not have things be disrupted. But guys, that's where the growth is. So the ego will imagine this, the ego screaming like when something goes wrong in our lives and doesn't happen as we think it should have, the ego will scream like, why me? Okay? And it feels threatened. The identity feels threatened. Let me give you a very brief example. So I'm driving down the road with my partner next to me the other night. We're coming back from getting frozen yogurt. And I see the light ahead of me. I'm thinking, it's going to change. It's going to change soon. You better speed up. So I sped up and it turned red when I was like in the middle of the intersection. And we get through and he's like, you just broke the law. And I immediately was like, no, I didn't. And then I defended myself. I'm like, it was not red when I started going through it. Ego, you guys, that's the ego. I don't break the law. I'm not a lawbreaker. I also don't make mistakes. So don't point them out when I do. I can laugh about it now, but I was tense in that moment, and I was like, oh God, that was like, can I be okay making mistakes? Can I let go of that belief that I'm unworthy if I make a mistake? Okay, simple example of the ego popping up and being like, ah. That's what it feels like, resistance, tightening, okay? So that brings me to the strategy that I want to share with you today. Learn to ask and practice asking yourselves invitational questions, all right? Now, what do I mean by this? Invitational questions open us up. They expand us. A lot of the questions that we ask ourselves, take the why me question. Why me? Like, it's not welcoming process. It's not welcoming reflection. It's not welcoming you to sit with it and live with the question and allow it to marinate and to allow you to discover and kind of take it as an adventure we're going on to learn and grow. Like, no, why me kind of shuts you off, shuts you down. Like, don't question me. My way is the right way. So it's a lot of the questions we ask, guys, we're not actually opening the door to true inquiry, okay? A lot of the questions we ask, we're making blind assumptions about the answers. And we come up with very vague answers. True, reflective, embodied questions bring up nuance and context and detail. It's kind of like, the ego pops up and says, I didn't do that. Like, that's just the freaking headline of the clickbait. The headline on the front page of the newspaper. True, and we believe it. True reflection, true invitational questions invite us to read the article so that we can learn more and acquire a more, like I said, nuanced perspective. So a more appropriate question instead of why me, or when you hear the why me, use that as a cue to ask yourself a more invitational question like, what's important to me? Okay? This question opens us up to exploration, okay? Another question that prompts discovery would be something like, what evidence is there to support or refute my claim? Okay, let's say, for example, that I'm really angry at my boss for the negative feedback that he gave me in my performance review. All right. We want to invite ourselves into questions that prompt us to possibly see what we don't want to. That's the whole point of this exercise, okay? So remember, invitational questions, guys, don't mean that we're going to be comfy when we ask them, okay? No, not at all. Invitational questions will prompt resistance, and when that resistance surfaces, that's where we've just hit this really juicy, sweet spot of potential growth. So I invite you to start asking the invitational questions of yourself and let that resistance be this like bright, shiny indicator light that you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing, you're going in the right direction. Thank you.